One of the questions I get asked a lot from clients and from listeners is, how safe is my money with Charles Schwab? Well, in this video, I'll talk about how to keep your money safe from fraud at Charles Schwab, as well as the Schwab security guarantee, which helps to guarantee against fraud. So anytime you have questions about Schwab, a great place to go is schwab.com. They have a lot of information just on their homepage, so that's where we are here. So if you click on Why Schwab, you can see they have our security guarantee as well as a lot of other stuff. So if we click on that, it talks about how Schwab is working to keep your money safe. So some of the ways that they protect you, they have multi-layered technology, they have highly trained people, and they have processes and procedures to keep your money safe anytime you call in, anytime you go to a branch, anytime that you log into your accounts online. So how do you do your part? Well, you definitely want to set up security alerts, and that's when you log into your accounts at Schwab. You can set up those alerts to make sure that you're getting information anytime there's any changes in your account. You can also, I would strongly encourage you to set up two-factor authentication, and you can also set up voice ID anytime you're calling in to your accounts. That way Schwab will be able to know that it's actually you that's calling in. So some of the basic things you don't want to do is you don't want to share your personal information with anyone. If you're getting somebody calling you over the phone and they're telling you that they work for Charles Schwab, or this could be any other financial institution, I would probably not proceed with that call. Usually most of these companies are not reaching out to you, and if they are, they're generally not going to ask for any of your personal information over the phone. There's also fictitious emails that you might get that it's called phishing, where it's attempts to get you to click on links and log into fictitious websites that aren't actually the website for Charles Schwab, for example. So again, always probably have another video on how to log into your accounts, but going to schwab.com, then clicking on the login is probably where you want to go, rather than getting emails that you may not be sure who they're from. If you confirm on the email that it's actually from Schwab, you want to look at who it's being sent from, because that's usually a great indicator. The from line will be some strange address that you're not familiar with, and if that's the case, then you probably don't want to click on anything on that account. And then, so Schwab has a lot of information. You could come back here, but the thing I wanted to cover is the security guarantee, as I mentioned earlier, which is where Schwab will cover losses in any of your Schwab accounts due to unauthorized activity. So let's learn more about that. So this is just an added layer of protection that Schwab has on here for you to feel good about having your money at Schwab. Obviously, there's a lot of fraud that happens to financial institutions, and they have a lot of things they're doing to prevent that. But in case they didn't, notice this fraud going on, you didn't notice this fraud going on, there's a guarantee that can help you feel good about having your accounts with Schwab. So some of the steps that they suggest here that I've just talked about is definitely safeguard your information. So make sure that you're not sharing your password, your login information, your PIN numbers, your account numbers with anybody who you don't want to share that with, right? If you do think that your accounts have been compromised, you want to reach out to Schwab as quickly as possible so they can take the necessary steps to lock down your accounts. So again, you can call 1-888-3-SCHWAB. If you have a financial advisor, also reaching out to your advisor on your accounts can be very helpful. So a little bit more about the Schwab guarantee, just clicking on some of the things they have here. So do you have to do anything extra to get this protection? No. Schwab is automatically providing this protection. So how does the guarantee work? Well, again, if you suspect that you've been a victim of unauthorized activity on your accounts, there's been some fraud, you need to reach out to Schwab, and they will review the claims and take any necessary steps to prevent any further losses. So there's some more questions, which is interesting. Does this guarantee apply if I use an application or computer software that can retrieve my data from Schwab for things like financial planning or help me manage my finances? And Schwab says, no, the guarantee doesn't apply if another third party accesses your account and from there they committed some type of fraud. So you have to be careful with who you're sharing your data with. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use these websites, these financial aggregators, but if somehow they were able to find a backdoor through that, then Schwab's guarantee is not applicable. Additionally, there's other questions about, does it apply to Schwab Bank? It does. This one would apply to me and my clients. Does this guarantee apply to accounts managed by independent investment advisors doing business with Charles Schwab Advisory Service? And yes, it does. This applies to unauthorized account activity in clients' accounts. Again, unauthorized, that would be somebody who didn't have authorization. However, as it says here, keep in mind, if there's any fraud, committed on your behalf, it might be considered authorized and not covered if it was by someone who you grant access to your accounts. So you want to be very careful with the advisors that you're working with. If you pick the right advisor that's working with Schwab, they should be not committing any fraud in your accounts, and there's even safeguards above that to prevent that from happening. It also asks if this guarantee applies to Charles Schwab retirement plan accounts, and it says here that it applies to all individual retirement accounts held at Schwab and generally applies to accounts of employees participating in employer-sponsored retirement plans, equity compensation, deferred comp. So, these accounts, again, are usually covered, but it says here if a third-party administrator other than someone at Schwab or a trustee grants unauthorized activity to your account, it may not be authorized and it may not be considered. Lastly, just does this apply to 529 plan accounts or annuities at Schwab? And the answer is no, because these are usually managed by a third party, and therefore, Schwab doesn't have the safeguards in place for those accounts. So again, a lot of information here, but Charles Schwab has this security guarantee where they're doing their best to protect your information. But if somehow fraud was committed in your account through unauthorized access, again, a hacker, somebody who didn't give authorization into your account, then it would be covered. So make sure that you're doing the necessary steps as we talked about to prevent your information from being stolen. Don't click on any unauthorized emails. If you're not sure of a link, check who the sender is from. And make sure you have two-factor authentication turned on in your Schwab accounts. That way you'll be notified if there's unauthorized activity in your account, withdrawals, transactions, logins, those types of things. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you do, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button below. Take care.